What's up, everybody? It's your boy Pipes, and thank you so much for tuning in on this week's hashtag Share My Heart. So, if you're new here, what is hashtag Share My Heart? It's really simple. Sometimes the Lord reveals things to me, spur of the moment, and I just have to get it out there. So what do? I grab my phone, I go Facebook Live, and I just share my heart. And I decided to bring them to YouTube. So please excuse the fact that it's not in landscape mode, and there's not crazy lighting, and there's not all this cool sound quality, but there is one good thing about this video. Two good things about this video. One, God is moving, and two, my beard's pretty awesome. So with that being said, please, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so that you get every time we do a hashtag Share My Heart. All right, I love you guys. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll holler at y'all soon. Peace.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? It's a scorcher here today in New Jersey. 30 degrees. It's nice and cold here. No. We'll get straight to it. Grab the fork, right? So, this is going to be a spiritual video. Alright? So, if that's not your thing, feel free to like and share this video. No, if it isn't, I'm just warning you. Alright? Grab the fork. So, I've grown up in the church, around the church, everything around the church, and there's always this phrase and saying where, you know, there's a day where you got to get off the milk and you got to start eating the steak and potatoes, right? Eating the meat, really diving into the word and having an intimate prayer time and not just settling for the milk or the baby food, but really diving in and getting some spiritual awesomeness, right? But then the Lord kind of challenged me. He's been working with me over the past couple weeks, probably over a month actually, on this. There are people that are getting fed steak and potatoes, but their pastor's holding the fork. There are men and women that are eating spiritually, and they're eating good, hearty food, but only when their pastor feeds it to them. I want to challenge everybody. Grow up. Pick up the fork. Grab the fork. Feed yourself. There's a time where we have to understand that when we come to church, when we come to corporate worship, it is not when we eat our steak and potatoes. If anything, it's dessert. If anything, it's the cake. Understand, grab the fork. The Lord wants to know you just as much as you want to know Him. I think of my children. There's a time where I am feeding my son or my daughters, and they're still getting nourishment, and they're still getting sustenance, and they're still getting fed. With that sense of him taking care of himself, him feeding himself, him nurturing himself, and that part of identity where he is now accountable to himself for eating. And if now, when I give him the fork, if he goes hungry, it's his fault because he didn't eat or he didn't take the bite because the fork is in his hand. Josiah is he'll be 2 years old this month, and look, he almost practically feeds himself. And there are times where, as we grow spiritually in our walk with the Lord, that, you know, sometimes our pastors and men and women of God have to come along and help us a little bit. But there is a time we need to put down the fork and grab the fork. So this challenge is for two people. One, for men and women of God, pick up the fork and feed yourself. But also, this is a challenge for men and women of God. I believe there are pastors and men of influence and women of influence and leadership that are going to see this and are going to need to hear this. Put down the fork. There are men and women that you are discipling that you need to come alongside of them and you need to help feed them because they just don't know. They're new Christians or whatever. But there are also people that you are mentoring and discipling that you are babying. They're not just ready to eat the steak and potatoes. They're ready to hold the fork and feed themselves. See, Josiah was able to eat hard food before he could hold the fork. Now he can hold the fork. Men and women of God, I want to challenge you with two things. One, grab the fork and feed yourself. And two, men and women of God, of influence, understand there is a place, a time, where you need to put down the fork. Because men and women we need that independence. Because guess what? Oh, well, I just didn't get fed. It's my pastor's fault. No. Your pastor's not holding the fork. You are. You're the one that decided not to read your Bible. You're the one that decided not to dive in. You're the one that settled for milk when you know you should be eating a pot roast. You did that. No one else. Don't blame your pastor for things because you're the one holding the fork, not him or her. Okay? Don't blame anyone else because I'm not growing spiritually. Well, you're not feeding yourself either. How do you expect to grow if you're not feeding yourself? Also, I've got 4 kids. I'll tell you straight up, man, it is hard to spoon feed my son and spoon feed Allison and to spoon feed Dominic and all that. Look, you have to understand, men and women of God, your pastor, okay? If you've been saved for freaking 5 years or 25 years, you need to stop. You need to grow up, put your big boy pants on, and stop expecting your pastor to feed you. My 7-year-old, my 5-year-old, my 3-year-old, I do not feed them. You know why? They know how to eat. They know how to hold the fork. But my 1.5-year-old who still needs to learn, I will take my time and I will learn him. I'll teach him how to hold the fork, but there's going to be a day where I'm not going to hold his fork either. Don't be getting mad at your pastor because he's spending more time with this new believer. When he's actually diving in with them and kind of spoon feeding them along the process. And here you've been saved for 20 years and you're upset because I want my pastor to feed me. Grow up, grab the fork and feed yourself. Ain't nobody's fault that you ain't grown but yourself. Grab the fork. Own your walk. Be a man and woman of God that God has called you and destined you to be. Grab your fork. Feed yourself. I love every single one of you. Be blessed. Peace.